Well, hello and welcome to an online edition of the Blue Butterfly. And obviously, if we're doing an online version, that can only mean that we're in lockdown again. So we really hope that you're doing well and you're safe and that you have everything that you need during this time of lockdown. But because we can go online, we can still continue with our services. And so I'm happy to do that here for you today. I want to start off by asking you a question. When you were a kid, what did you want to become? What did you dream about? Did you dream of becoming a doctor? Maybe a fireman? Maybe you dreamt of getting married one day and being a parent? What I do know is when you were dreaming about whatever it is that you wanted to become, you wanted to be the best. You wanted to achieve greatness. You wanted to be a huge success. See, when you dreamt about being a fireman, you wanted to be the one who's at the front of the hose, pointing to the hose in different direction, fighting the fire and being in the front lines. You didn't dream about being the guy at the truck who opens up the tap. Maybe if you dreamt of being a doctor, you wanted to be the one on the operating table, making the decisions, using the skill and using the tools and making the difficult calls, saving lives. You probably didn't dream of being the person who hands the scalpel to the doctor. And if you dreamt of getting married one day and maybe having kids, you dreamt of being the best parent possible. You wanted to be the best parent in the world, the best spouse in the world. There's this thing in us then when we are kids, we dream and we dream big. We want the best. Erwin McManus says it like this. He says, we humans are instinctively ambitious. When we dream, our dreams naturally gravitate towards greatness. Our dreams naturally gravitate towards greatness. So the question is, if we all have this in our bones, if we are naturally dreaming very ambitious dreams, then why do so few of us actually realize those dreams? Why do so many of us live in the ordinary and so few actually get to the extraordinary, ambitious, great, living lives of greatness? So maybe we think, I think it's a thing of skill and talent. Maybe we find out as we grow up we don't have enough skill and talent to achieve greatness. Now, the great American psychologist and academic and writer of science books, Angela Duckworth, says the following. She says, when it comes to people living lives of greatness and finding great success, it has very little, or it has less to do with skill and talent and more to do with another characteristic that she calls grit. And she speaks of when she was a high school teacher and she left teaching and studied psychology and then went and tried to find out what is it that makes people successful. And she did social experiments in all kind of environments, in school environments, in the military, in businesses. And what they would do in each and every environment they went into, working with a group of people, they would have one question that they wanted to answer. Who in this group is going to be successful? Who's going to make it? Who's going to live lives of greatness? And she says about those experiments, she says, in all those different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, it wasn't physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like a marathon, not a sprint. So what she is saying to us is that the main characteristic that separates people into those who live lives, ordinary lives, and those who live lives of greatness and great success is a characteristic known as grit, perseverance. See, whatever is out there that is worth gaining or getting. Whatever it is that you are dreaming about, whether it's a great career, a great marriage, being a great parent, having a great business, or gaining great success in anything, whatever is worth gaining in this world is going to require perseverance. And so today, I want to speak to you about perseverance. In James chapter 1, verses 2 onwards, it says the following. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do." And if we jump down to verse 12, it says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." Now the writer says, "The testing of your faith develops perseverance." Perseverance is something that can be developed within you. It gets developed in. This is really good news, because most of us feel that we don't naturally have perseverance. This is really good news for you if you are always the one giving up too early, always tapping out too quick, never sticking to things, going from job to job to job, going from relationship to relationship to relationship, and you just never seem to be able to find that which you are looking for. And what the writer is saying is, if you want to find success and you want to find greatness in all those ventures in your life, then perseverance, the characteristic that you need to succeed, can be developed in you. Have you noticed that when they sell cars, they have a base model and they have the luxury model? The luxury model is the one they use for the advertisements. The luxury model is the one you go in for a test drive. But when it comes to the time when we have to actually purchase the vehicle, we all try and save money, and we move closer towards the base model. And the base model, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the luxury model has. I remember as a kid, they had this, they had the same thing. They had cars with the base model and the luxury model. And back then, the base models didn't even have a mirror on the left door, on the passenger door. So you just got one mirror. And if you wanted an extra mirror, if you wanted mirrors on both doors, you needed to purchase the luxury model. Can you believe it? Only one mirror on a car. I mean, back then, cycling was considered an extreme sport. On a par, on a level with like base jumping. Only for adrenaline junkies. It was really dangerous stuff. But it's still the same. We have cars, we have base models, and we have the luxury models. And often when you buy your car, and eventually you pick up your car and you drive, before you go to the salesman, you go, well, "Where's that button that opens up the boot?" And they go, "Oh, that's part of the luxury model. You can have that, but you need to pay extra. It's going to cost you." The good news is you got the right car. This car has the capacity to have that button, but if you want that button, you've got to pay extra. It's going to come at a cost. And it's almost like we humans, we have like a base model functionality, and we have the luxury model functionality. And we all want perseverance, but that comes in the luxury model variety. But the good news is we all have the capacity to develop perseverance, but it's going to come at a cost. It's going to cost us extra. And this is the reason why so few of us actually develop perseverance in our lives. One of the main reasons, Netflix. Yeah, Netflix prevents you from developing perseverance, because Netflix rewards you for sitting on the couch, eating a slice of pizza and doing nothing. But perseverance is the opposite. That takes hard work. That takes input. That takes effort. That takes a cost. And so the way of Netflix is easy and comfortable, but the path to greatness is not through easy and comfortable. And so we don't want to pay the cost that develops perseverance. We don't want to persevere in relationships. We don't want to persevere in our careers, in our businesses. We don't want to persevere when things get difficult because we seek comfortable and easy. We want a Netflix life. Another reason that prevents us from developing perseverance is an inflated ego. We see ourselves as the luxury model, but we're only the base model. And so we think we don't have to pay extra. We already have perseverance, but we don't, and it never gets developed in us. So the good news is we all have the functionality, we have the capacity, we have the option. Perseverance is an optional extra for us. We can all develop perseverance in our lives, but it's going to come at a cost. And nothing develops perseverance, as this writer says, like the testing of your faith through trials. Perseverance grows in your life through hard times, by making things harder. That's what develops perseverance in your life. How many times have you tapped out when things got harder? May those times have been opportunities where you stepped away from having perseverance being developed in your life. Perseverance can be developed in you. It can grow in you. And it gets developed through hard times, through difficult situations, when all you want to do is tap out. In verse 4, the writer says, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Perseverance finishes work in you. Perseverance changes you. If you persevere, you come out differently. You come out changed on the other side. See, we want to change. We sometimes want to change in our health. We want our marriages to change. We want to change our careers or how we're doing in our careers. But we want those changes to be quick and easy. But what the writer is saying is the true change, the change that brings about maturity and completes you, happens through perseverance. In other words, it happens over a long time of being committed in the small things. I once listened to a comedian saying, they were talking about bodybuilding and weight training, and he said he went to the gym once and he got a few dumbbells and he got a bench and he lied down on the bench and he did a few bench presses. He did 12 of them and he really struggled to do the 12, and then he put the weights down, he got up and he went to the mirror and he pulled his shirt back to check his muscles, and he thought nothing changed, and he thought, oh, this is a farce, this is nonsense, and he left and never went back. And everyone was laughing because he's joking, but that is kinda how we think about things. We want change to have minimum effort and to happen quickly. But the true change that can only happen through perseverance happens through being committed in the small, difficult things every day over a long time. See, if you go to the gym every day and you eat healthy every day and you exercise every day, then you will find that through that perseverance, or through doing that every day over a long time, you will see permanent changes to your body happening. And it's the same in all aspects of our life. That perseverance changes us. It is through the steady commitment in the everyday small things, no matter how difficult they are to do, that we find change eventually. And we see change in our lives. And the writer says what perseverance does, the kind of change that it brings into your life, it matures you and it makes you complete. Eugene Peterson, in his Message translation, puts it like this. He says, "So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work so you become mature and well developed, not deficient in any way. Don't try and get out of anything prematurely, saying allow perseverance to mature you. You don't want to stop the process prematurely when you haven't been developed yet. See, I don't know what God has in store for my future. I don't know what plans he has in mind. But whatever He wants to bring in my life, I know He is dreaming for success and greatness in my life. And whatever that is going to be, is going to require that I'll be mature for that moment. And if I tap out now prematurely, when God actually does bring those things, those great opportunities in my life in the future, then I might not have the maturity to deal with them. Have you ever seen when something powerful has been given to someone who is immature? The young teenage boy who just got his license and then asks his dad if he can use his powerful SUV for a Friday evening. And he takes the car, he takes it to drive. But he drives like a maniac and he destroys the car and he gets injured or he injures someone else. And why did that happen? Because he did not have the maturity to handle something as powerful as that SUV. And so it is with our life, that God cannot give us powerful things to manage in our life when we do not have the maturity to live with those things and to use them appropriately as God designed them to be. So the writer is saying, now in your everyday life, stay committed, persevere in the small things. Persevere in the small things when it comes to your health. Persevere in the small things of in your marriage. Persevere in the small things when raising your kids. Persevere in the small things like being on time at work and not leaving early, not taking extra time during your lunch break. Persevere in the small things in your marriage. Don't just get your wife flowers once a year on Valentine's Day. Get her flowers often, every week, every second week. Persevere in the small things, the hard things that take time and take effort, because it develops within you a maturity that prepares you for the greatness that lies in your future. In verse 5, the writer continues, he says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. Up to now, in the previous points, I have not been focusing on the immediate context of these words. I have been applying the lessons that the scriptures have here to the general sense of life, in terms of your career, your marriage, your parenting, your business, and they are true for all those aspects of life. But we need to remember that these words were not written for those contexts. The writer, James, here is writing to Christians, people who are already following Jesus, and he's telling them to persevere. The immediate context is he's telling followers of Jesus to persevere. And the reason he's telling them to persevere is because they're thinking about quitting. They're thinking about tapping out. They do not want to persevere following Jesus, because following Jesus has created problems for them. It created persecution in their lives. People are against them. People are treating them unfairly because they are followers of Jesus. And so being a follower of Jesus actually makes life harder than it would be if you didn't follow Jesus. And so the writer here is telling them that they need perseverance. You and I need to persevere in following Jesus. See, so many followers of Jesus think that it's supposed to be easy, that you shouldn't struggle, that you shouldn't have these feelings sometimes of, is it worth it? Feelings of wanting to quit, wanting to tap out. And others would say that when you do feel like that, then you're doing something wrong. Maybe you don't have enough faith and you need to recheck yourself. But in the scriptures, we see the writer actually giving advice to genuine followers of Jesus about persevering. Because an authentic faith life, an authentic relationship with Jesus through the Holy Spirit needs and requires perseverance. There will be moments in an authentic faith life that you want to tap out. And so the writer James is saying to these followers, persevere. And through these trials, through these persecutions, through these things that are happening to you because you are a follower of Jesus, perseverance is actually being developed in you, which is the thing you need to be successful and achieve greatness in your faith life. But also through these trials, you should consider it pure joy because you know it's also changing you. It's making you more mature and more complete person and follower of Jesus. So this is advice to Christians about their relationship with Jesus. See, maybe you've come to moments where you wanted to tap out, where you've gone, I don't know if it's worth it anymore. I don't know if there's any reward in this. And it's just too hard to be a follower of Jesus. It would be much easier if I just gave up on my faith. And that's where this writer steps in and says, persevere through, because you know perseverance is developed in you through the testing of your faith, through trials. This is a natural process of being an authentic follower of Jesus. And he says, by the way, you're going to need wisdom. So pray to God in the midst of your trial, in the midst of those moments when you're thinking of tapping out and leaving your faith and leaving it all down. Pray for wisdom because you'll need it. He says, but don't be double-minded. Double-mindedness will derail your journey, your faith journey. Double-mindedness will prevent you from persevering so that the character and maturity and completeness may be done in you. He says, don't be double-minded. That will derail you. There's a story in the New Testament where a rich young man comes to Jesus and he says to Jesus, what do I have to do to inherit the kingdom of God? And Jesus tells him, keep the commandments. And he says, I've done all this. And then Jesus knows what's going on inside his heart. Jesus said, then go sell all your possessions, give it to the poor, and then come and follow me. And it says the man left there with his face downcast because he knew what Jesus was asking him. He was really rich. He had a lot of wealth. And Jesus was saying, give all that away and come follow me. Essentially what Jesus was saying is completely and single-mindedly rely on me to provide for you. And so this was an obstacle. We can see this rich young man was double-minded because he was saying he wanted to be in the kingdom of heaven. He wanted to have God's kingdom. He wanted to be a follower of Jesus, but he also wanted his money. He also wanted his safety net, his resources. He was double-minded. And so he couldn't follow Jesus because of double-mindedness. See, double-mindedness is about having options. See, what is it that you want that it seems God isn't giving to you? What is it that you think you need, but it seems God is not following through and providing that for you? What is it that you need and God is not giving it to you, so you've relied on your talents or your resources or your skill or your heritage or whatever it might be to provide those things for you? You see, single-mindedness is about relying on God for whatever we think we need. And so in the midst of your trial, in the midst of you suffering, in the midst of life being hard and life not going the way you want it to go, you're not getting what you want, it's not playing out the way you expected it to, and you've been asking God for those things that you think you need, but it doesn't seem to be happening, then the writer says, pray for wisdom. Pray for wisdom. And God will make clear what it is that you need to be in that moment. And then single-mindedly depend on that. Because that's where the perseverance and maturity and the completeness is developed in you. You know, as I finish off here about this topic of perseverance, I know it's not an easy thing. I'm speaking so loudly to myself in this presentation, but I just thought about this. If this is true, then that means there might have been situations in my past where if I persevered, I would have found success. If I persevered, I would have found greatness. I wonder about your past. How many times in the past have you missed out on great opportunities? Have you missed out on great success because you just tapped out too early? You just gave up too quickly. You know, from this day forward and all the opportunities going forward, I want to make sure that I pray and ask God for the wisdom on where I should be persevering day after day in, day out, putting in the effort, because if I just don't tap out, I will see success and I will see greatness in my life. I never want to be that person when I stand face to face with God one day. He says to me, if you just persevered for one more week, if you just persevered for one more month, one more year, you would have seen what greatness and success laid on the other side of your perseverance. May you never regret persevering. May you always hold on to that which you know is good and true, and may you stay committed to it day in and day out, realizing the future that you dream of by staying consistent in your relationships and in your career and in your, most importantly, in your relationship with God. May you never tap out, and may you find through that perseverance, you find a life of greatness.